Stop scrolling right now because what happened in New York today isn't just about a casual outfit or another celebrity sighting. It's about a moment that instantly sparked questions, speculation, and a wave of curiosity across the internet. Before we go any further, make sure you like, comment, and share, because the smallest detail in this story might be the biggest clue everyone is missing. Early this morning in New York City, cameras caught Taylor Swift arriving at a recording studio in Manhattan. No entourage chaos, no dramatic entrance, just Taylor, stepping out of a vehicle with calm confidence, dressed casual yet undeniably chic. An oversized neutral-tone jacket, relaxed trousers, and understated footwear created a look that felt effortless, but intentional. Her hair was styled simply, makeup minimal, and yet the presence was unmistakable. This wasn't a random stop. This was purpose. Photographers quickly gathered, shutters clicking as she crossed the sidewalk. A few fans paused mid-step, lifting their phones, whispering in disbelief as Taylor offered a brief smile and a polite nod before heading inside. And the moment the studio doors closed behind her, a single question began to dominate conversations online. Where's Travis Kelce? In recent months, Taylor Swift's public appearances have often been linked, directly or indirectly, to Travis Kelce. Whether photographed together or mentioned in headlines, their names have become closely associated. But this time, there was no sign of him, no quiet walk beside her, no casual confirmation of his presence. Just Taylor, alone, walking into a studio that holds deep creative history for her. Suddenly, the silence felt loud. Cut. Zoom in. Replay the footage. Fans and commentators began analyzing every frame. Her expression, her posture, the pace of her walk. Did she look more focused than usual? More inward? Or was this simply the look of an artist fully immersed in her craft? Sources near the location reported that Taylor arrived solo and moved quickly into the building without lingering. That detail only fueled speculation further. Was she recording new music? Working on a secret project? Finalizing something big behind closed doors? Or was this a personal moment of retreat into creativity, away from the noise? And then there's Travis Kelce. At the time of Taylor's studio arrival, Travis was reportedly occupied with his own professional commitments, not publicly seen in New York that day. No confirmation of travel, no surprise appearances, no comments from either side, just distance and unanswered questions. Some fans believe it signals nothing more than two successful people managing demanding schedules. Others wonder if the absence carries deeper meaning. Pause. Pattern interrupt. Because here's the thing many people overlook. Taylor Swift understands narrative better than almost anyone in pop culture. Her appearances are rarely accidental. The choice of location, timing, and presentation always tells a story, even when no words are spoken. This particular studio is not unfamiliar to her. It's a place where ideas have turned into global anthems, where quiet moments have evolved into chart-topping eras. Seeing her there, dressed down but composed, suggests focus, creative intent, something in motion. Before we continue, drop a comment right now. Do you think this is about new music or something more personal unfolding behind the scenes? As the hours passed, media outlets connected the dots. Casual outfit, serious destination. Calm demeanor, intense curiosity from the public. Taylor Swift didn't announce anything, yet managed to dominate headlines without saying a single word. Meanwhile, the absence of Travis Kelce split public opinion into two competing narratives. One suggests confidence, a relationship strong enough to exist without constant public validation. The other suggests space, intentional or necessary, for reasons yet unknown. Neither theory has been confirmed. Both continue to gain traction. Here's the teaser that keeps people watching. Later that day, reports surfaced of a vehicle leaving through a rear exit of the studio. No clear photos, no confirmed identities, just whispers. Was it a short session, a private collaboration, or simply a routine exit that became magnified by curiosity? And this is where the tension peaks. Because regardless of Travis Kelce's location, the undeniable truth is this. The moment belonged entirely to Taylor Swift and her work. She arrived quietly, entered the studio, and left behind a trail of questions that only she controls the answers to. For an artist whose career has been built on layered storytelling, that's not coincidence, it's mastery. The payoff isn't a dramatic reveal. It's the realization that sometimes the most powerful headlines come from what isn't shown. No statements, no explanations, just presence, purpose, and silence. So where is Travis Kelce? For now, that remains unanswered. But what's clear is this: Taylor Swift is moving forward, creatively focused, and once again reminding the world that every step she takes carries meaning. If you want real-time updates, deeper analysis, and the next clue as soon as it appears, make sure you follow, like, and share now. Because with Taylor Swift, the story is never over, and the next chapter could begin at any moment. And the story doesn't stop there, because once Taylor Swift disappeared behind those studio doors, the ripple effect only grew stronger. Social media timelines shifted almost instantly. Fan accounts began cross-checking dates, flights, and past studio visits, trying to find patterns that might explain the timing. Entertainment reporters refreshed sources. Comment sections filled with theories stacking on top of theories, each one feeding the tension rather than resolving it. What makes this moment especially compelling is how ordinary it looked on the surface. No red carpet, no announcement, no dramatic reveal, just a woman walking into work. And yet, when that woman is Taylor Swift, even the quietest move becomes headline-worthy. Her casual and chic appearance sent a clear signal. She didn't come to be seen, she came to do something. Industry insiders note that Taylor has often favored low-key studio entrances when she's deep into a creative phase. Historically, some of her biggest musical shifts were preceded by exactly this kind of behavior. Understated outfits, minimal public interaction, and sudden appearances at recording locations without context. In retrospect, those moments became clues. At the time, they were mysteries. The absence of Travis Kelce only intensified the focus. In the past, when the two were spotted separately, speculation quickly followed. But this moment feels different. It's not just that he wasn't there. It's that his absence stood out against a backdrop where people had come to expect his presence. That contrast alone was enough to reignite conversation. Camera angles slowed. Screenshots circulated. Fans zoomed in on Taylor's hands, her bag, the way she adjusted her jacket before entering the building. Some pointed out how relaxed she seemed. Others noticed a quiet determination in her stride. Everyone saw something different, and that's what kept the conversation alive. As the day progressed, entertainment news outlets began framing the moment carefully. No wild claims, no definitive statements, just one repeated line of emphasis. Taylor Swift was seen entering a New York recording studio alone, dressed casually and chic, with no sign of Travis Kelce. Facts first, questions second, engagement guaranteed. Behind the scenes, the studio itself became part of the narrative. Known for hosting high-profile artists and discreet sessions, it's a place where privacy is respected and leaks are rare. That detail matters, because if something significant is being worked on, this is exactly where it would happen, quietly, professionally, and out of the spotlight. Then comes another shift in tempo. Late afternoon rolls in. Still no statement. Still no follow-up appearance. No posts from Taylor. No posts from Travis. Silence. And in celebrity culture, silence is rarely empty. It's a space where anticipation grows. Some fans argue this moment highlights balance rather than distance. Two high-profile individuals, both at the top of their fields, temporarily focused on separate paths. Others interpret it as a reminder that Taylor Swift's narrative doesn't orbit around anyone else. Not even a headline-making relationship. Her work comes first, and moments like this reinforce that message without saying it out loud. What's undeniable is how effectively this single appearance reset the conversation. Instead of asking what Taylor is wearing, people are asking what she's creating. Instead of focusing on who she's with, attention has shifted to where she's going next. That pivot from image to intent is powerful. As evening approached, paparazzi presence thinned. The studio lights remained on. No confirmation of when Taylor left. No verified sightings. Just the city moving on around a building that, for one day, held everyone's attention. And this is where the story lands, not with answers, but with control. Taylor Swift arrived, worked, and vanished back into privacy, leaving behind a narrative shaped entirely by observation rather than explanation. Travis Kelce's whereabouts remain unconfirmed in relation to that day, and that unanswered question continues to fuel engagement. But perhaps that's the point. The focus isn't meant to settle. It's meant to linger in a media landscape driven by constant disclosure. Moments like this stand out precisely because they reveal nothing directly. They invite curiosity without feeding it. They create tension without conflict. And they remind everyone watching that Taylor Swift doesn't need to announce her moves for them to matter. So the question remains open. Where is Travis Kelce? Maybe working, maybe resting, maybe simply off camera. But the real headline, the one that carries weight, is this: Taylor Swift is back in the studio, moving quietly, deliberately, and on her own terms. And if history has taught fans anything, it's that when Taylor moves like this, something meaningful usually follows. And as night settled over New York City, the atmosphere around that quiet studio only grew heavier with speculation. The sidewalks cleared, traffic thinned, but online, the conversation was just getting started. Fans across different time zones were waking up to the same headline, the same images, the same unanswered question. Taylor Swift had been there. Travis Kelce had not. And nothing else had been explained. What's striking is how quickly this moment evolved from a simple celebrity sighting into a full-scale narrative. Within hours, clips were slowed down, zoomed in, reposted with captions questioning tone, mood, and intent. Was Taylor smiling more softly than usual? Did she seem lighter or more guarded? In the absence of concrete information, interpretation became currency. Entertainment analysts pointed out something subtle but important. Taylor didn't attempt to hide. No hood pulled low, no rushed steps, no avoidance of cameras. Her body language suggested comfort, confidence, and routine. This wasn't secrecy, it was selectiveness. A choice to be seen but not explained. That distinction matters, because Taylor Swift has spent years mastering the balance between public presence and private control. She knows exactly how much to reveal to keep the world watching without ever giving it full access. This studio appearance fits perfectly into that pattern. Visible enough to be documented, quiet enough to remain undefined. Meanwhile, the Travis Kelce question continued to dominate discussion threads. Sports media noted his recent schedule. Pop culture outlets analyzed the optics. Fans debated whether the lack of shared visibility meant anything at all. Still, neither camp could point to facts, only timing, context, and silence. Pattern interrupt. Pull back for a wider view. This isn't the first time Taylor Swift has redirected attention simply by showing up somewhere unexpected. Historically, some of her most transformative creative eras began this way. Low-profile entrances, minimal commentary, and a sudden shift in public focus from her personal life to her work. The difference now is scale. Every move is magnified. Every absence is louder. Insiders familiar with the music industry emphasize that New York studio sessions often signal preparation rather than release. Writing, refining, experimenting, the kind of work that doesn't demand headlines but eventually creates them. That's why this appearance resonates. It feels early, intentional, like the first domino, and then there's the emotional undercurrent that fans can't ignore. Taylor Swift's relationship narratives have always been closely intertwined with her art, not as tabloid fuel, but as emotional context. So when she appears alone, focused, and firmly planted in a creative environment, people instinctively search for meaning, not drama. Meaning. Is she processing something, channeling something, or simply working? The absence of answers keeps the tension alive. Late into the evening, fan accounts tracked studio activity. Lights on, lights off, no verified exit, no follow-up photos, no confirmation of who she worked with or for how long. The lack of closure only deepened the intrigue. In a culture that thrives on instant updates, this moment resisted resolution, and that resistance is powerful. Because while the question, "Where's Travis Kelce?" continues to echo, another question has quietly taken its place beneath it. What is Taylor Swift building right now? That shift from relationship curiosity to creative anticipation. is the real pivot of this story. Zoom in again. Taylor Swift didn't make a statement. She didn't need to. Her presence did the work. A casual, chic outfit, a familiar studio, a solo arrival, each element simple on its own. Together, they formed a narrative dense enough to carry global attention for an entire day. As the next morning approached, headlines remained cautious. No sensational claims, just careful repetition of the facts. And yet, the story stayed alive, not because of what was said, but because of what wasn't. This is the kind of moment that lingers in hindsight. Months from now, fans may look back and say, that was the day it started. Or maybe it will remain exactly what it appears to be now. A quiet day at work, misread through the lens of fame. Either way, the impact is undeniable. Taylor Swift reminded the world of something essential. She doesn't need spectacle to command attention. She doesn't need explanation to generate conversation. She only needs to move, calmly, deliberately, on her own terms, so the narrative remains open. Travis Kelce's location that day may eventually be clarified, or it may fade into irrelevance. What won't fade is the image of Taylor Swift walking into that New York studio, alone, composed, and entirely in control of the moment. And if you've followed her career long enough, you already know what that usually means if you don't want to miss what comes next. Whether it's a reveal, a release, or another quiet move that changes everything. Stay locked in, like, share, and keep watching. Because with Taylor Swift, the silence always speaks first. And even days after that quiet arrival, the echo of it still hasn't faded. What began as a fleeting sidewalk moment has now settled into something heavier. A slow-burning narrative that refuses to close. News cycles moved on, but the curiosity didn't. Instead, it deepened, layering itself with memory, context, and expectation. Because when Taylor Swift enters a studio in New York without announcement, history demands attention. Veteran fans quickly recalled similar moments from the past. Times when Taylor was seen arriving alone, understated, almost invisible by her own standards, only for the world to later realize those were the opening notes of a much larger composition. The pattern is familiar, and that familiarity is exactly what makes this moment so compelling. Feels early, feels intentional. It feels like the calm before something shifts. What's different now is the surrounding noise. Taylor Swift today exists at a scale unlike any other artist. Every movement is archived, dissected, debated, and yet, despite that scale, she still manages to create gaps. Spaces where speculation thrives but certainty doesn't. This studio appearance is one of those spaces. Entertainment journalists began reframing the story not as a question of absence, but of agency. Taylor didn't appear with anyone because she didn't need to. She wasn't making a statement about her relationship status. She was making a statement about priority. Work first, narrative later. And still, the Travis Kelce question persists, not because of evidence, but because of expectation. In a media landscape trained to pair them together, separation feels meaningful even when it may not be. That's the tension. The audience is conditioned to look for symmetry, and when it's missing, the imbalance becomes the story. But imbalance can also mean independence. Cut to another angle. Sources close to the industry note that Taylor has increasingly favored New York as a creative base when she's exploring new sonic directions. The city's energy, anonymity, and pace offer something Los Angeles doesn't. In New York, she can arrive quietly, work intensely, and disappear without spectacle. That alone adds weight to this moment. And then there's the emotional texture of the footage itself. No rush, no distraction, no performance for the cameras, just forward motion. A woman entering a space where ideas take shape. That image lingers because it's stripped of excess. It doesn't ask to be admired. It asks to be remembered. As conversations continued to evolve online, a subtle shift occurred. Fewer people asked where Travis Kelce was. More people began asking what Taylor Swift was preparing. That transition didn't happen all at once. It crept in slowly, post by post, comment by comment. But once it settled, it changed the tone entirely. This was no longer gossip. It was anticipation. Music forums lit up with theories. Some speculated about a new sound, others about unreleased material being revisited. A few suggested collaborations. None of it confirmed. All of it possible. That's the power of a single unspoken moment when the right person occupies the right space. And through it all, Taylor remained silent. No social media updates. No follow-up sightings. No clarification. Silence, once again, doing the work of 1,000 words. In an era where overexposure is the norm, restraint becomes its own kind of headline. The longer the silence stretched, the clearer the message became. This moment wasn't meant to resolve quickly. It was meant to linger. And maybe that's the real takeaway. Not where Travis Kelce was. Not what Taylor Swift was wearing. Not even what she was recording. But how effortlessly she reminded the world that her presence alone can reset the conversation. She didn't tease. She didn't confirm. She didn't deny. She simply showed up, did the work, and let everyone else fill in the gaps. That's not avoidance. That's controlled SO now, as fans and media alike wait for the next signal. An announcement, a release, another quiet appearance. The story remains open-ended, suspended, alive. Because when Taylor Swift moves like this, history suggests it's rarely the end of a chapter. It's the beginning. If you're paying attention, you already know what that means. And if you don't want to miss the moment when the silence finally breaks, stay connected. Like, share, and keep watching. Because with Taylor Swift, the story always continues, and the next clue is never as far away as it seems. And the longer this moment stretches, the more it begins to feel deliberate, almost architectural in the way it's been constructed. Not announced, not denied, not clarified. Just placed into the world and allowed to breathe. That's what gives it weight. Taylor Swift didn't rush to contextualize her appearance, and in doing so, she let the public do what it always does best: watch, wait, and wonder. What keeps the story alive is not drama, but restraint. In the days following her studio visit, subtle shifts began to appear in how the narrative was framed. Headlines softened. Language became more measured. Instead of urgency, there was curiosity. Instead of speculation, there was analysis. The tone changed from, "What does this mean?" to, "Why does this feel important?" Because it does. Taylor Swift's relationship with visibility has evolved. Early in her career, every appearance felt like an event. Later, it became a statement. Now, it feels like punctuation, small, precise marks placed exactly where they're needed. This studio visit reads like a comma, not a period. A pause, a breath, a signal that the sentence isn't finished yet. Observers began noting how carefully balanced the moment was. Casual but not careless. Public but not performative. Chic without trying to impress. These details matter because they suggest intention without urgency. She wasn't chasing attention. She wasn't avoiding it either. She was simply present. And that presence reframed everything. The Travis Kelce question, while still circulating, gradually lost its sharp edge. Not because it was answered, but because it stopped being the center of gravity. The story no longer hinged on who wasn't there. It shifted to why Taylor was. The absence became secondary to the action. That's a powerful pivot. Cultural commentators pointed out that this kind of moment reflects a broader change in how Taylor Swift occupies public space. She no longer needs accompaniment to validate significance. Her work speaks first. Her movements follow. Everything else becomes optional. Meanwhile, fan communities began cataloging timelines, not obsessively, but thoughtfully. Past studio visits, similar outfits, comparable stretches of silence. Patterns emerged, not as predictions, but as possibilities. And within those possibilities, anticipation quietly built. That there's something almost cinematic about how this unfolded. A single entrance, a closed door, no follow-up scene, just an unresolved frame left hanging. In film language, that's not an ending, it's a setup. The city itself played a role. New York, with its relentless pace and layered anonymity, has always been a place where reinvention feels possible. For Taylor Swift, it represents focus without spectacle. A place to work without distraction, to create without explanation. That context adds depth to the image of her walking into that studio alone. As time passed, it became clear that this wasn't a moment designed for immediate payoff. There was no reveal waiting just around the corner. No sudden announcement to tie things up neatly. Instead, the payoff was slower, subtler. Sustained attention without saturation that's rare in an age where relevance is often measured by volume. Taylor Swift demonstrated another approach. Impact through quiet consistency. She didn't flood the timeline. She punctured it. Once. Cleanly. And then she stepped back. The result is a story that refuses to resolve itself. People are still talking, still watching, still checking for signs. And that, more than any headline or photograph, confirms the power of the move. One appearance, no explanation, and days of sustained engagement. So where does that leave things now? It leaves us in a familiar place for anyone who's followed Taylor Swift long enough. Waiting not for answers, but for context. Waiting for the moment when this quiet action connects to something larger. Waiting for hindsight to do what it always does, reveal meaning where there once was only curiosity. Until then, the image remains unchanged. Taylor Swift, arriving at a New York studio, casual and chic, alone, unbothered, focused. Travis Kelce elsewhere, off-frame, unaddressed. No conflict, no confirmation, just space. And in that space, the story continues to grow. Because with Taylor Swift, the most interesting chapters often begin exactly like this. Not with noise, but with a single step forward and the confidence to let silence do the talking. And as that silence continues to stretch, it begins to take on a shape of its own. Less like a gap, more like a canvas. The longer nothing is said, the more intentional everything feels. Taylor Swift's studio appearance in New York is no longer just a moment frozen in time. It has evolved into a reference point, something people keep circling back to, measuring new information against. What's remarkable is how little new material it took to sustain this level of attention. No follow-up photos. No insider quotes confirming a project. No social media breadcrumbs. And yet, the conversation persists. That endurance is the story. From a news perspective, this moment sits at an unusual intersection. It's factual enough to report. Taylor Swift arrived at a studio in New York, dressed casually and chic, without Travis Kelce present. But it's open-ended enough to invite interpretation without crossing into fabrication. That balance is rare, and it's why this narrative has legs. Media analysts have pointed out that Taylor Swift has effectively trained the public to read her movements as signals, even when they're not explicitly framed that way. This isn't manipulation, it's reputation. When an artist consistently delivers meaning after periods of quiet, the quiet itself becomes meaningful. Context turns into anticipation. The studio itself remains unnamed in most reports, not out of secrecy, but out of respect for privacy, a detail that subtly reinforces the seriousness of the visit. This wasn't a casual pop-in. This was work, professional, focused, controlled. As the days passed, the absence of Travis Kelce gradually transformed from a question into a footnote. Not because it stopped mattering, but because it stopped defining the narrative. The headline stayed the same, but the subtext shifted. This was no longer about where he was, it was about where she chose to be. And that distinction carries weight. Taylor Swift has long been scrutinized for how her personal relationships intersect with her public life. In this case, the separation was clean. No visible overlap. No shared moment. Just two individuals operating in different spheres at the same time. That alone challenges the expectation that her story must always be told in tandem with someone else's. There's also a broader cultural layer at play. Audiences are increasingly drawn to moments that feel authentic, unforced, and unspectacular. A celebrity quietly going to work resonates precisely because it contrasts with the constant performance of visibility elsewhere. Taylor's casual and chic look reinforced that authenticity. It felt lived in, not styled for shock value. The tension here isn't explosive, it's atmospheric. It builds not through conflict, but through restraint. Each day without clarification adds another layer of intrigue, not because something is wrong, but because something might be coming. Industry insiders remain cautious. No one is rushing to confirm a new album, a single, or a collaboration, and that caution itself speaks volumes. When those closest to the process stay quiet, it usually means one of two things. Nothing is ready to be discussed or something is being carefully protected. Either way, the effect is the same. Taylor Swift's presence alone was enough to dominate the news cycle, redirect conversation, and remind everyone of her gravitational pull. She didn't need a headline announcement. She became the headline by moving through the world exactly as she chose to. As the story continues to circulate, it has taken on a reflective quality. People aren't just reacting, they're remembering, comparing, noting how often moments like this precede shifts, new sounds, new eras, new phases. That historical awareness gives the present moment depth. And still, nothing has been confirmed. That's the quiet brilliance of in a media environment obsessed with immediacy. Taylor Swift allowed time to do the work. She introduced a moment and then stepped away,